Chapter 25. Things That'll Turn Your Bones into Jelly. Beside me, Worm makes a small whimpering sound. "I'm not here," she whispers to herself. "I'm somewhere else. I'm somewhere else." Except she doesn't sound like she believes it. I've got my face against the crack in the window boards, trying to keep an eye on things. Sheriff Goodman is still there, but I can't see Worm's stepfather, like he's moved out of range. Suddenly, the board gets yanked off the window and a blast of daylight hits me right in the face. The Undertaker is on the other side of the window, looking in at both of us. He lifts up his hand and points at me and shouts, "There he is! There's the monster who kidnapped my daughter!" His raggedly lightning voice goes through me like a hot bullet, and for a moment my heart just stops. I can't move. Sheriff Goodman goes, "You'd better come out of there. I'll bet you're pretty hungry, huh? We'll get us some food and then we'll talk." Worm bolts, running away as fast as she can. Before my brain knows what's going on, my feet are following her, running into the darkness, into that old mining tunnel, into the place of the dead. The sheriff is yelling, begging us not to go into the mine, but he's so far away he sounds like he's shouting from another planet. I'm barreling along like an out-of-control locomotive, heading for the tunnel. Racing across the floor of the old train station with the terrible darkness getting closer and closer, that's when my brain tries to put on the brakes. "Don't do it," my brain screams. "If you go down into that mine, you'll never come out alive." "Shut up," I say to my brain, and keep on going. But my brain won't shut up. "There are terrible things down there," it says. "Things you can't think about or you'll die. Things that'll turn your bones into jelly. Things that'll eat you up and spit you out. Things that'll make you wish you'd never been born." But it's too late to stop no matter what my brain says. I'm already inside the entrance to the mine, trying to catch Worm before the shadows swallow her up. The air feels different, and the darkness feels different, and I'm running so fast there's no turning back. I can't stop. It's like gravity is sucking me down into the mining tunnel, under the mountain and into the earth. "Wait! Wait, wait, wait." Sheriff Goodman's voice turns into an echo. The words chase us underground. I'm still running as hard as I can down into the darkness, and the last thing I hear is him shouting, "Be careful! Full, full, full." Too late for that. I'm way past being careful. And that's the last thing in my head before something comes out of the dark and whams me so hard my bones turn to jelly, just like my brain promised. Some people see stars when they get knocked out. Me, I see mosquitoes. Shiny mosquitoes buzzing around my head. They're still buzzing when Worm wakes me up. She doesn't say anything, but she's tugging on my ear so hard it almost comes off, and that wakes me. I can't see anything but the dark and the sparks of light from banging my head. I try to sit up, but that turns out to be a bad idea because it makes me dizzy and I have to lie down again or puke. When I try to say something, Worm puts her hand on my mouth and shuts me up. Footsteps. I can hear footsteps and whispery voices. "Must have gone this way," somebody whispers. It's so completely dark I can't see a thing. But the voices have shapes. One belongs to the sheriff, the other to the Undertaker. And whenever he talks, Worm gets very, very quiet and still. "No telling what evil things that boy has done," the Undertaker is saying in a voice so smooth it makes my brain itch. "He may have turned her mind against me." The sheriff says, "Never mind that now. Get him out of this death trap alive and then we'll worry about sorting it all out." The Undertaker doesn't like that. "The girl belongs to me," he insists. "Don't matter what happens to the boy." It's hard to tell in the dark, but they sound real close and getting closer. I'm thinking about what to do next when suddenly the whole tunnel creaks and the Undertaker shrieks out, "What's that?" "Old timbers," the sheriff says. "They had a really bad cave in here already, the same one that killed your stepdaughter's father. The rest of the place is ready to collapse any day now. Bump into the wrong timber and the mountain comes down on our heads." "What do we do?" the Undertaker asks in a shaky voice. "We get out of here before we make matters worse. Organize a search party. You were right about the girl heading here, but you gotta let me handle the police work, okay?" The footsteps start to fade away. Then I hear the sheriff calling out, "Maxwell Kane, if you can hear me, listen up. Give yourself up and nobody gets hurt, not you or the girl. You've got my word on that." Me and the worm keep still until the footsteps are gone, until there's just us in the darkness and the wind in the tunnel. When I try to stand up, my head gets bumped again, but not so hard this time. With my hands, I can feel the busted timber sagging down from the roof of the tunnel. That's what clobbered me. A light comes on, pointing right in my eyes. Worm has turned on her miner's hat and she's aiming it at me so I can see. Which should be good, right? Except the trouble is, now that I can see the rotten old timbers inside that hold up the tunnel, it makes me feel sick inside. Here I am trying to keep Worm safe and we end up in a hard place that could bury us alive if it's too hard. I'm not going back, Worm says real fierce. I don't care what happens. I'm never, ever going back to him. I go, we could get killed down here. You go on back, Worm says. The both of us, I say. We'll go back together. The light weaves as Worm shakes her head. No way. I'd rather die. Something in her voice makes me think she doesn't care if she does die, or maybe she even wants to, just to get away from being afraid. And that makes me decide to stick with her no matter what, even if my brain thinks I'm being stupid. We can't just stay here, I say. They're coming back with a search party. They'll find us for sure. I told you, go if you want to, Worm says, acting stubborn and fierce. That's not what I mean, I say. Come on. And then I take her hand and lead us deeper into the tunnel, into the dark places under the earth.